What if I told you that meeting your dream woman is actually easier than you think, and that you've had the power all along? I'm Renee for the Attractive Man team, and today in this video, I'm going to reveal to you the 5 fears that are blocking you from meeting your dream girl. I'm also going to give you the simple strategies to be able to overcome those fears, increase your confidence, and make your love life limitless. I'm a professional dating and relationship coach, and I help men from around the world increase their confidence and build the relationship that they really crave. Now, typically speaking, most of the time, the reason why we come against roadblocks, or we find that we're not getting the progress that we want in our relationships, or we're not attracting the woman that we want into our world, is simply because of fear or lack. Now, whether it is fear of failure, fear of repeating the past, fear of not being aligned enough, or lack of confidence, lack of self-worth, or lack of knowledge on how to actually approach women, most of the problems that we have that hinder us from love boil down to those 2 things. But in this video, I really want to focus on the word fear. Because here's the thing about fear. Fear is a big fat liar. Now, what fear does is it takes a thought or an idea and it builds it up to be something that isn't even a reality yet. And this hinders us from opportunities, it limits our potential as a person, and in this case, it also actually stops you from being able to attract the right woman into your world with such ease and confidence. Now, in order to become fearless, the first thing you need to understand is why you had those fears. When we can identify the problems that we're up against, we're then able to really look at why we have these problems. Where are they stemming from? What are the beliefs associated with those problems? And then once we have the whys, we can then work on the hows. And that's what I want to do for you in this video. I'm a really practical dating and relationship coach, and I'm not going to sugarcoat the truth from you.
You can't handle the truth!
I want to make sure that you're first able to identify what sort of fears you might have that are actually blocking you from meeting this girl. And then I'm going to give you a simple sort of strategy in order to be able to overcome that fear so that you can hit it on the head, move forward, and get on with having an awesome love life. The first fear is fear of inadequacy. Now, whether this is you feel inadequate as a man because you don't believe that your finances or your life is up to date, or whether it is that you feel inadequate physically, or maybe you feel inadequate in a status position. Either way, when we don't feel like we're enough, we project that, and not only does that lower our confidence, but most of the time it actually lowers our standards as well. And then we wonder why we're putting this effort into dating and we're not really getting the results that we desire. And that's because if you have a deep-centered belief that who you are isn't enough, or what you have isn't enough to offer the right woman, then you're not really going to attract the right woman, because you will be living, thinking and speaking and making actions out of that deep-centered belief. Now, we all know that life is a journey. There's always going to be seasons where we have abundance and sometimes where we don't have as much. If you can understand that you are enough and that your validation as a man has nothing to do with whether or not you're being affirmed or rejected by a woman, then it's going to help you realize that where you are in this point in your life, you're still able to make the most of it. The thing is, a lot of the times when I'm coaching men, I find that one of the repetitive sort of patterns they have is feeling that you have to be at a certain level before you can start dating. And it's like you're living in the future of who you want to be instead of celebrating who you are. Now, here is what I want you to do to help overcome that fear. I want you to do the opposite of a vision board. I want you to do an accomplishment board. This is a great little exercise. It'll probably take you about 10-15 minutes, and it is something that is highly effective. All you need to do is get a piece of paper, maybe a cork board or whatever it is in your reach, and simply list all your accomplishments. What have you achieved up until this point in your life? Have you achieved certain degrees? Have you achieved certain statuses? Have you achieved certain relationships with your family that are worth noting? You see, I want you to realize that your past doesn't have to be a place of residence, but a place of reference, meaning you have done great things. Who you are is enough. And it's really about taking that time to actually acknowledge who you are at this point in your life. An accomplishment board is basically a reminder of who you are right now and who you've been in the past. It's there to celebrate your identity. It's there to celebrate your achievements and to remind you visually that you are actually progressing in life, that you are somebody, that you don't have to reach a certain level in order to feel that you are able to love and be loved by a woman. The second fear is fear of failure. Now, fear of failure, I think, is something that the majority of people struggle with, but more so you guys, because there is so much pressure placed on you by society to be the man, to be the provider, to be the protector, and you almost have to live up to this unrealistic expectation. Now, the good point from point number one with the accomplishment board is that it's going to help recognize that you aren't failing, that you have achieved something, and that you are progressing as well. Now, if you feel again that you're going to fail in a relationship, what you need to do is you need to just scale it back a little bit and take the overwhelm out of the end result. Fear of failure is basically seeing an end result and assuming that you're not going to make it, or that you don't have what it takes in order to be able to succeed in a relationship. Relationships are always changing and growing. And don't forget, you're not the only person in the relationship. It's also up to her as well to make sure that she's playing her part in order to make the relationship succeed as well. Take the pressure off yourself. Not every relationship is going to last, because that is just how life is, and we can't control other people's actions and reactions in the relationship. All we can do is control our reaction and our actions in the relationship. If you have a fear of failure, then this is what you need to do. The thing is, whatever we water is what grows. So it's important to make sure that we're watering thoughts and words and actions on what it is that we actually want to blossom. You might not always be everything to her, and that's okay, because it's not your responsibility to be her whole entire world. Or you might not have everything that you think that she wants. Guys, let me give you a little bit of advice right now. Women want a husband, not a hero. I know that instinctually you guys want to step into this night-saving role, that you want to be our protector and provider and everything like that, but at the end of the day, we don't want all the fancy stuff. We don't even necessarily want all the money and the glitz and the glam and everything like that. We want you for you. We want your time. We want to know that you value us. We want to know at the end of the day, you're going to be there beside us. That is what we're focusing on. We're not focusing on what you're not doing. We're focusing on what you are doing. So therefore, in our mind, it's not even about failure. It's just more about the effort that you're actually putting in. So I suggest, if you do have this fear of failure, then remember, what is a woman actually wanting? What is she actually thinking? Focus on that. Focus on what you are able to give, not what you aren't or have a fear about, and that is how you'll start to overcome that fear. The third fear is fear of the future. Now, this basically centers around the belief that you feel that you can't control what is going to happen. Maybe you're someone that feels that you like to have almost all your ducks lined up in a row, or you like to have things in order where you can see them, because it means that you can then control your reaction to them. Now, that is typically usually because you've had a past experience, probably from your parents, where things have hurt you that you didn't see coming. And so what you want to do is, it's almost like you want to safeguard yourself. Now, safeguarding yourself means that you limit yourself from mystery, from surprises, and also from the full capacity of what a relationship can be. Guys, this is what you need to do in order to be able to overcome fear of the future. Living in the future means that you're going to miss out on the present, because you're basing your future ideas off what has happened in the past. The key with getting over your fear of the future is understanding that you cannot control life. All you can do is control your reaction to life. And that is where the power lies, in having peace in your decisions and knowing that regardless of what happens, you're going to be okay. The fourth fear is fear of commitment, or fear of missing out. Now, fear of commitment usually stems from either feeling that you were abandoned when you were a child, or maybe you had parents that were divorced. It could also mean that you feel that you want the next best thing. And unfortunately, with our access to online dating and dating apps, we have so many choices in front of us that it's hard not to always consistently be looking for the next best thing. When you actually start to allow this fear to control your life, it's almost like you have this sense of restlessness because you're constantly seeking and searching for the next best thing, or you don't ever want to say yes to one thing 100% because you think that you might miss out on something that is ultimately better. This isn't about dating every single girl until you finally find the right one, because that's exhausting and you're going to get choice fatigue and you're probably going to be 10, 20 years down the track and still single. This is about really pinpointing what it is that you want, really focusing in on that and making sure that you limit your options only to that. The more options and things that you add into the equation, the more anxiety that you're going to have around the decision, and the more you're going to start focusing on, well, maybe I can have better, maybe I can have this, maybe I can have that. It's one thing to have standards and to know if you need to raise your standards or not. It's another thing to make dating and choices of who you date out of a fear that you could have better or you're going to miss out on something better. So I suggest simply limiting your options, again, focusing on ideally what it is that you really desire, and then being committed to that person. I'm not necessarily talking about being in a full-on relationship with her straight away, but rather being present in that sort of relationship or those dates that you go on, instead of being on your app and looking at someone else or wondering about someone else. Focus on what that person brings to the table. Focus on their potential and the potential of what you could actually have together as a couple before you bring someone else into the equation. We're never really going to know the full potential of what we can have with someone if we're constantly focusing on other people. And lastly, the fifth fear is fear of vulnerability. Guys, love is a risk, and unfortunately you can try and be as calculated and controlled about it as you like, but at the end of the day it does involve another person and you can't control the other person, so there's always going to be some level of risk involved in finding love. Vulnerability isn't a weakness in a relationship. It's actually something that can strengthen your relationship. It makes things transparent, it helps build trust, and is actually a really attractive quality in a man for us women. We want to know that the men we're dating are men who aren't afraid to let their walls down. It's not that we're asking you to lay your heart on the line, because trust me, I coach my women out there not to lay their heart on the line straight away. It's important that you get to know the person behind the commitment. At the same time, you can't be constantly guarded because of what's happened in the past or what you're afraid will happen in the future. Again, if you have this fear of being who you are, then you're never really going to know if the person that you're dating really loves you for who you are. Fear of vulnerability basically stems back to having been hurt in the past or having a lack of awareness of how to actually reduce the risk when it comes to love. And in order to be able to conquer this fear, I really recommend doing the boot camp that we have with the Attractive Man. This is something that is going to help increase your knowledge, which in turn increases your confidence. It's going to give you real sort of insight and awareness on what it is you need to look for, what it is that you need to do, so that you don't just have the whys, but you also have the hows. It's one thing to be able to identify these fears. It's another thing to know what it is that you need to do in order to be able to overcome them and become fearless. So which one of these fears can you relate to? I want you to actually tell me in the comments below. Now, if you really want to increase your confidence and overcome these fears, then Matt has created a confidence cheat sheet, which has 18 proven ways to help you overcome these fears and increase your confidence and deal with stressful situations such as approaching beautiful women. This is all based on science and psychology, and these are methods that actually work. To get your free guide, all you need to do is click on the image at the bottom right hand of this screen and it'll go straight to your inbox. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed and turned on the notifications already, then do so now, because you don't want to miss out on my next few videos. Pass this video on to maybe another mate that really needs help in this area as well. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye for now.